The following broadcast is a Nighthawk Network presentation. Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy E Buck, and yes, finally, it is time for your favorite sports podcast, Gametime Audible. We are back, y'all. We are back. Thank you all for your prayers and well wishes that we've been trying to get it together. Mainly me, of course. For those of you who know about my health issues and all of that, I am doing much better. I am glad to report things are going relatively well. Hopefully things will continue to progress. In the meanwhile, we are back talking sports with you guys. And of course, I do this with my partner in crime, the one and only sports guru himself, Hugh Lee. What's going on, Hugh?
What's good, man? There's been a lot going on lately, man. Been thankful too for all the people who have been supporting the page. The page grew. Last time I seen on your page when you were advertising pure to the game, which I appreciate. It was like at 169. I'm at like 203 now and growing. Appreciate all the people and the insight that they've been given to, and most of all, I like to thank the newcomers and the women supporters now, man, because I end up getting that highlight page with a lot of the women's sports, and that's been making it a lot. It's been making it a lot better for me. I have to say, it's been really cool though to get that done and get a few things done in that motion and grow the page a little bit. But then I know that I'm just really thankful that our health and for people who've been reaching out and giving us support, and waiting for us to come back on and drop this gem we call the Sport Podcast.
Absolutely. So yeah, without further ado, we about to get into it. But one last thing, keep in mind if you are here in the local Detroit area, we're getting kind of dicey out there right now. So by all means, please be careful in your routes home and about because yeah, I just looked out there, it's not looking too good. So please be careful. Any technical problems that we might be experiencing on this end is probably due to that weather right now. So we do apologize for that as well. In the meanwhile, let's do it, man. Let's get into it. First and foremost,
Yes, sir.
as we know the season known as the NFL has come to an end, and we unfortunately missed a good part of. Well, we basically missed all the playoffs and our time off and whatnot. So I kind of want to give us a chance to kind of review our thoughts on the season and whatnot. I will give it to my man, the sports guru, because football is what he does best, and let him go from there. And I'll just kind of jump in with my comments. What you got for us, Hugh?
It was a pretty good season, man, because it was we expected the unexpected. A lot of teams had no business winning, was winning games. Vegas made a lot of money off of that. It wasn't no way I thought some of these teams was going to do what they did. And one of the bigger things was if you told a lot of people, including yourself, E, you can go back and you can go back to earlier shows. People didn't think that the Detroit Lions was going to do good, man, and they really picked up pace and they had a legitimate chance of making the playoffs. Unfortunately, they didn't, but to go out on top and to beat Green Bay was definitely that was almost like a Super Bowl in itself for me. But it was actually a really good season, and the best part about it to me is most times I shouldn't be biased being in the position I'm in, but I usually pick certain people and I had my certain favorites, but This year, I didn't have a favorite in the Super Bowl. I really didn't care who won. I was just blessed to see two black guys who deserved to be there, and it was a really good game. A lot of people still upset, and they say the controversy that went on behind it, but I loved it because I was telling you before we got on the air is the fact that we got a new villain, a person that everybody love to hate now. Patrick got those two Super Bowls, so now everybody's starting to point at him and they giving him all the calls, and it's like, well, that's what people gonna do. But congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs too, because we didn't get a chance to do that, and it was well deserved. They balled out, and it was funny to me the whole beef at first between Juju and James Bradbury. Did you hear about that? Juju made a comment on Valentine's Day that was really funny, and he said, "At times you gotta hold on in life when it counts the most. Happy Valentine's Day." And I was like, "Oh, that was a funny jab." People thought it was funny, but I think that your boy basically took it too personal. And AJ Brown got real shady. What he said, he was like, "Man, you was almost out the league, man. Patrick Mahomes saved your career, so you should be thankful. Y'all deserve all the props in the world for winning the Super Bowl. Congrats, but I'm not gonna get that to you because you really didn't do anything or made as much of an impact to win." He basically said he was one of them kids that put his 2 cents in on the assignment and, got an A. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, basically, like I said, NFL, kudos to them on another good season. They are king in terms of all the major sports because of how they do what they do. I mean, even you got to look at even some of the worst teams in the league, like the Chicago Bears and the Texans. They at least made it interesting most weeks to where okay, they might have won. They came close on several occasions. So even the bad teams played to some degree
They
like
played
some.
pretty hard. They did.
So, you look at that, of course, it's always them sour grapes when it comes to Super Bowl and after the fact. This is just this year's version of it. Every year, usually after the game, there's some type of back and forth between some of the participants and whatnot. I find this nothing new, pretty much par for the course. Of course, when you have that one team, which appears to be at this point the Kansas City Chiefs, about to be the next dynasty in the NFL, of course, there are going to be the people that love them no matter what, and of course, shout out to all my people in Missouri who are diehard Kansas City Chiefs fans and basically have enjoyed the fruits of their labor the last few years. Got a lot of pictures of them at the parade and whatnot. So I'm glad you are enjoying being champions. I am sincerely hoping one day. Okay, hold on, Hugh, jump in there.
I didn't know I had people in KC too. I wanted to tell you that on the show. So congratulations to all my people in Missouri and to my home too. That
Let me
caught me off
find
guard.
Let me
I was
find
talking to
out we brothers for real, for real. Let me find out.
yeah, I was talking to my sister, man. That caught me off guard because she was like, "Yeah, we got family all over." I think my older brother lives in Missouri, and like
Okay.
family, I had no idea that lived in Missouri. So yeah, you know how us people are, man. When it comes to the South, we got people everywhere down there.
Small world, small world. I also want to shout out a couple of people that might be new to the broadcast that might be tuning in. Shout out to my friends that I made over there at Henry Ford Wyandotte, who did a great job of taking care of me while I was there for those few days. And I might actually be checking out the show just to let you know I am sticking to all the regimens and taking my medicines, and I'm doing good. Thanks to all that you did in regards to helping me be better. I appreciate it very much. Um, like I said, in terms of just the whole season itself, I was very pleased with how it went for the most part. Granted, a lot of our picks that we had in terms of who's going to win this and that, they didn't pretty much go the way that we thought they would, and that's okay. I mean, we basically had the teams like the Lions that definitely improved. We had the teams like Pittsburgh that fought adversity and was
They look good this
almost
year.
there. Even the Patriots, fought at times to almost make the playoffs. Then we, of course, had to look at some of the teams that just had them bad luck injuries, like obviously San Francisco. Just what happened in that
Yeah,
last game alone, it was hard. You can only wonder what it would have been like if they would have had went with Garoppolo game one and he played the whole season. would they be the team that we be talking about right now instead of the Chiefs? You have to wonder that. But when all was said and done, like I said, it was a good productive season. I very much was liking the games from week to week. I was very thankful that this dude that loves him some football had the opportunity, although from bad circumstances, to watch the entire season in its entirety and to truly enjoy it as he came in his prime. And I really hope that you did enjoy that, Hugh, that you got a chance to check out all the games and you had a good time with yourself.
Definitely did, man. I enjoyed the season, man. It was a blessing. And it was unfortunate, like you said. If I had a choice, I'd have been, laughing and joking around at the job, watching some of the games, because it was just fun being there around them and being around that crowd and the atmosphere, man. And being at home kind of sucked, man. But I know that I had to take care of a few things myself at most and first and foremost, man. In my situation, you guys, I don't know if y'all really knew to the extent of what was going on with me. I have a lumbar injury in my vertebrae, so I had to really take it easy, man. And my doctors appreciate them as well because they wasn't trying to force me to do anything unnecessary because I'm just blessed right now after all the circumstances that I'm not in a wheelchair. So yeah, besides that, definitely enjoyed this season and what it was worth. Had some fun, a lot of ups and downs in this season, but it was really good. Like seeing the teams that we thought for sure and we seen at the bottom all the time for the last 3, 4 years. Persevere, and one of the teams even made it to the playoffs, and that's on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The boys look good, and they gave Kansas City a scare in the playoffs, man, that first round, because they were threatening to score. And then, the rookie made a rookie mistake. But other than that, it was a really good season, though, man. Just felt like it was a hard fought year. Like you said, the Texans stepped their game up when it mattered the most. And even the worst teams looked good every Sunday, even though they didn't win. But once they start putting those games together and win by these points, 3 points, and just basically clean up the mess and some of the just the bad penalties that they had, I believe we're gonna see a lot of good football in the season to come. And another team that surprised me too was the Jets, man. Congratulations to Sauce Gardner for winning the defensive rookie of the year and Garrison Wilson for winning the rookie of the year. The offensive rookie of the year. Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of teams went from the bottom to the top, man.
yeah, and we also thankful that that young man who was severely injured in the Cincinnati Buffalo game is now
Yeah,
doing well. He's out making appearances and actually winning awards and whatnot, and basically using his tragedy as a triumph to some degree. And I'm very thankful that he is able to do that. So shout out to him as well. Here's the thing, y'all. For as great as the season was, I'm pretty much looking forward now to that stove league, that hot stove league in between seasons because it seems like it's going to be one of the more interesting off seasons the NFL has ever had, and I'm pretty sure he was definitely looking forward to that and definitely could speak to that more so than myself. So, what's some of your thoughts on that, Hugh?
definitely looking forward to that, E. And right now, I was about to laugh and tell you earlier, man, it's not really nothing going on in the NFL. So I was really glad that we had this review that we could discuss, man, and talk about some of the things that went on in the league. But there was some things that happened today that was pretty interesting, man. People are already cleaning house, and the Tennessee Titans, the first team that did that just recently. They got rid of one of our Michigan alums, Taylor DeWine, today. They cut him to save salary, and they got rid of Robert Woods, the guy that they just got in the trade, and Randy Bullock, making themselves $38 million in cap space right now. So it's
Well,
one of them veteran teams who had a lot of cap.
Taylor Lewan was one of the highest paid offensive uh,
Yeah,
tackle slash guards in the league, so that made sense. Plus, he had been having some injury troubles the last couple of years. As far as Robert
I
Woods goes, he can't seem to find a home. He didn't went. He'd been
kind
with
of bad.
Tennessee. He's been in LA. He's been Buffalo now. I mean,
Yeah, he really started to get it in too, and he started to really find this place with the Los Angeles Rams, and that sucked when he had to split, man. So yeah, it was really good to see him this year, but hopefully he bounced back and get with a team to where he can persevere. Hey, what's up, bro? How the thing going?
Yes,
Definitely glad to
absolutely.
see
Shout out to Road to Stardom. Please follow Road on all the social media platforms, your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube. She is doing great things in terms of musical artists and selling of products and what have you. We are definitely supporters of Road to Stardom here on our show and all of our shows. So please check out RTS TV and be a supporter as we try to be. Always thankful that you are checking us out, Road. Continue, Hugh.
But yeah, man, other than that, it's been to the point where, like you said, man, I think this year is going to be probably better than the last 2 years as far as the free agency. And that's going to be coming up really soon, man, because the combine is next week from the second to the fifth. And that's funny because we was talking about how we really don't too much chime into that. But it's just the fact that they got that going to stay relevant. But more than anything, big ups to the NFL Network. Like I told you, for doing the HBU, they have like one of their bowl games that they're going to do is kind of similar to the Senior Bowl to get them ready for, their pro day and for the draft and for CW50 to promote some of the HBCU games as well. They was doing like one of the college women basketball games. It was Jackson State, and I forgot who else played, but yeah, they've been broadcasting a lot more of the HBCU stuff in the community and on the TV so people can check it out and be able to, be able to watch them and see them on a higher platform.
And I also want to give ESPN they props. They've been doing a lot to promote HBCUs. I basically want to give some credit to one Stephen A. Smith, who has definitely been champion HBCUs, being an HBCU alum himself. He has definitely started to speak upon them more to help put them out to the forefront. We also, of course, got to thank the great Deion Sanders, who in his time at HBCUs definitely posted their profile within him and definitely built them up as well. As you know, there is a HBCU college located here in Detroit that's on the verge of getting back into rotation here, and I'm looking forward to that happening sometime within the year to basically see if we can do some things to promote them here on the show if possible. So there is that as well. There is actually one HBCU here in Michigan, and it is located in Detroit, and they are in the process of revamping some things and getting it back open. So we definitely will speak more upon that when the time comes.
Now I want to switch over to the NBA, man, because Barkley was saying and Kenny was
Well, hold
laughing.
on, Hugh. Hold on, Hugh. Before you go there, I do have one more football thing to cover here.
Oh yeah, sure.
As you know now, we're not without football totally at the moment.
Okay,
There is
yeah.
this thing they call the XFL that's been going on. Have you had a chance to check any of that out, Hugh? What are some of
I
your thoughts?
watched the Arlington game, and it was at Arlington in Las Vegas. I didn't know my man's was on one of the teams too, man. Rod Woodson, man. It was pretty good to see him as one of the coaches. And what's our man's name? Used to coach for the Cowboys. He was one of the coaches too. It was good to see some of those former NFL guys to do some of the XFL games, but they were actually pretty interesting because Las Vegas was whooping on Arlington at first, and then they hit stride, man. And then it was really an interesting first game, man, for those guys to play. But which made it so good too is the fact that some of the slightly tweaks to their rules, but they definitely made it clear that right now that they're basically one of those factories to help get some of the guys who had a chance and didn't pan out in the NFL to get them back in there, so they working together as a whole unit. But I really enjoy some of the stuff that goes on there and how they play and how they do the point system, the 1, 2, and 3 points that you could get, the extra points, and the kickoff. It's so unique, and I'm just glad, and I hope some of that stuff, in the future, the NFL take note too, because it made the XFL stand out when before all the stuff happened with the pandemic.
Yeah, and like I said, it seems like this version of XFL is a lot less gimmicky. I am
Hmm.
looking forward to some of the people, and hopefully they do well. I was watching that Seattle game in the XFL, and our guy Josh Gordon is a part of that team, and he played pretty
Yeah,
well that week. So I'm definitely hoping that he has a good season and can maybe possibly make his way back to the NFL. He had a lot of troubles along the way en route to
unfortunately.
all the various places he played. But there was points in all his little stops in the NFL where he played relatively good. It's just those demons that seem to haunt him always seem to catch up with him. And I'm hoping that if not way back to the NFL, that at least this XFL experience is something that works out in a positive way for people like him and him in particular.
Yeah, because he was with the Titans at first, and then it didn't pan out. I think they was waiting for somebody to get healthy on the team. I forgot who it was, but he played like maybe 2 or 3 games, and he made a few plays, but it wasn't like the Josh Gordon we knew in Cleveland. And then when he went to New England, But
And
yeah,
of course,
wishing that.
he did a little time in Seattle. I believe he did a little time in Kansas City. Even he done bounced around a little bit, but hopefully, if he ain't found a home in the XFL, at least he's on the way back up to some sense of good. And hopefully there'll be a few good stories that come out of the XFL in regards to that. But we will
Got
see.
a chance, yeah.
And then, of course, as you know, in April we got the USFL coming back. You got any thoughts on that one?
Not really, because they didn't prove themselves enough to me the last time we saw it. It was just a disaster waiting to happen. And you was like, yeah, you check it out, man, to see what it's about. And I seen like the first 2 weeks, and that showed me a lot, man. And I said, no, I'm good. I'm gonna have to pass on them. And definitely hope that they can improve their product, though. I will try to, browse in and see what they talking about, but they definitely got to do something because the XFL now is.
Man, we ain't got the browse in, Hugh. The XFL is gonna be prevalent here in Detroit. By all means, I'm hoping that we catch a couple tickets and go catch a game live and check it out firsthand.
Yeah,
So
it's sad too.
it's
XFL,
doable, homie.
yeah,
We
they
can hook
might
it
have
up. Let's go on and make that happen.
definitely game with that.
For sure, for sure. So anyway, that covers the football now. Now we can move on to the NBA. Go ahead, Hugh.
Yeah, Barkley was telling Kenny this was going to be probably one of the better trade deadlines, or not even that, just basically acquiring talent in history. This was going to be one
Agreed.
of the better NBA trade deadlines. And Kenny laughed and said, man, I don't think it's going to be that intriguing. And from soon as we saw it, man, we seen LA get Ryu Hashimura. And then it just went crazy after that, man. When he slipped through the cracks, next thing you know, man, we see Kyrie over with Dallas. Then, we seen D'Lo back in LA. And, Mo Bamba went over there, to try to help out with that because, your man's AD can't stay healthy. But one of the bigger news that we saw was the shocker, man. I got up that morning to use the restroom. I think that you was already out on the road, Ian. That's when I found out about the Kevin Durant going to Phoenix, man. I want to ask you this question inside of us discussing this. Do you feel like, for one, that they secured themselves a way to the finals, but at the same time, do you think they did too much as far as over confiscate to get Kevin Durant?
Okay, well, I will say this trade deadline has been phenomenal. A lot of very good deals, of which we're talking about now. Uh, Perhaps the best one would be this Kevin Durant deal. However, it did come at a big price to the Phoenix Suns. With what they gave up to get a 34-year-old Kevin Durant, yeah, I agree. That was definitely too much to acquire him. Um, Shout out to Makai Bridges, who was a key
Yeah,
part of that deal. He in Brooklyn now, and he's showing up and showing out for them. He
we knew
basically
he.
took the game up to that next
Yeah,
level already. I'm loving it. But we'll get back to
yeah,
him in a second. In
yes.
terms of Kevin Durant, of course, he's coming off his latest injury. we really didn't know what type of Kevin Durant we was going to get after the Achilles injury. Usually when you hurt your Achilles like that, that's kind of the kiss of death. There have been people, of course, who've come back and played okay. Kevin definitely one of them now. But in terms of this version of Kevin Durant, I don't think I would have gave up that much for him. And is this a means to which they have definitely reached the finals? No, I can't say that, Hugh. When you look at all the deals that have been made, most of them have been the better player going to the West. So we all go back to that famous statement from earlier in the season when they asked the young John Morant if he was worried about the West. And of course, he responded, I'm not worried about the West. And of course, he's gone as far as saying recent times he's still not worried about the West, despite the fact that when Memphis starts back on Thursday, they coming off losing 5 straight and what have you. But no, like I said, the key to Phoenix right now is the fact that you got Durant, who's been hurt. You got Chris Paul, that always seems to get hurt this time of year in particular. And then, of course, you got Booker, who's just coming off an injury. And who knows if he's 100% at this point. I don't know if that plays into them making it or not. Bottom line, if one of them three get hurt, then obviously the odds are definitely not in their favor. But if all three can stay healthy, I definitely like their chances.
Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about. Like you said, man, Booker's always injured. KD's injured all the time now after, he had that Achilles injury, and you never know which Chris Paul you're going to get. 1 minute he playing, then he's out, man. And that's crazy, too, because that's two other ball distributors, and Chris Paul could score, as well as pass the ball and, be a traditional point guard. Book can do the same. But then, KD got a lot of that in him as well, man. But he's more better.
They got Aiden as big man, which is definitely going to be a key factor.
Yeah, I think that he just need to just, stay in the paint and try to play cleanup man or, run the floor to get the fast breaks because that's what he's gonna have to do now. And that's basically what he's normally been doing, but they're gonna have to kind of work the offense through him too, because I feel like if they do that, then that'll make him more encouraged to play defense and run the floor. Because if they don't, and you just gotta sit a big man just sitting in the waiting, kind of crowding up the court, I don't think that'd be a good idea. But I definitely feel like if they can stay healthy, they can have a legit chance. But with that team, man, who knows how healthy they're gonna be and how long they're gonna hold up.
Right, and then like I said, I really wish they could have found a way to keep Mikal Bridges, because if you would have had him with all that still, they definitely would be my pick to win it all, not just to win the get to the finals. But we'll see how that plays out. What else you got for us, Hugh?
Yeah, because I liked him, man. He definitely been helping out with the Nets, man. I want to give a shout out to LeBron, man, because love him or hate him, man. It was really good for me to sit back that day and say, okay, I'm about to watch this game. And I seen that he had 36 points to score. And I said, man, I don't know if he's going to get it this game. Maybe next game they play. And then I looked up and this brother had like 38 points in the third quarter going into the fourth quarter. So that was big, man, because that Kareem record was one of those records that we looked at like, man, we never thought it'd be broken, man. And that was one of them records that, like, even when we look now, we like, man, 7 Super Bowls, that can be possible if the team stay healthy, but we never thought that scoring title would be taken down, but because I don't think Kareem never really shot no threes. I think he attempted some before, maybe one, but for him to still have that scoring title intact at that time without shooting any threes, man, that's impressive. People got to give homage and respect the captain for that. But for LeBron to break that, man, and not even really paying that no attention because people were asking him about it at courtside, and he said, I'm not worried about that, man. I'm trying to still win games and win championships. But when that hits you, it humbles you, man. And because when you get to that point in your career, it's like, man, you can't argue with him being one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest, because he won with Miami, he won with Cleveland, he won with LA. And to get that title, man, the scoring title, that's huge, man. And I still feel like he got some game in him. He can still go another year or two, maybe three. In his with his conditioning. So, yeah, man, that was something I don't think really people really gave a lot of homage to and didn't appreciate that record. So, yeah, I just want to say I want to give him his flowers while he's still playing.
Absolutely. I mean, just some of my thoughts on that night. Of course, I was glad that it worked out to where he could do it in LA. Definitely worked out to where the captain is still here with us to basically enjoy in that night because I feel like that was a celebration of both of them, to be honest. Not just LeBron, but to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as well, who really has not gotten the proper respect for what he accomplished in the league and just overall. I mean, when you look at his entire record from high school through college through pro, he is probably one of not the most decorated sports athlete of all time when you consider his 3 championships at UCLA, 6 championships in the pros, various MVPs, the leading scorer in the league, and just at times the most dominant player, even though he didn't always get the props for being so. He don't get the same type of love I feel like Wilt the Stilt does, or obviously Michael Jordan and such. So I was glad he got his moment and that LeBron definitely acknowledged him. I was also glad that he worked out his issues with Shaquille O'Neal, who apparently felt like all these years that him and Kareem was at odds, but they seem to have worked all that out. So I was happy for that. And it was just good as always just to see all the celebrities and stuff in the house when he broke the record that are Lakers fans. So I'm glad they enjoyed themselves that evening. It kind of brought me back to that night when Kobe had 60. So it was
Yeah,
just, I was glad I was able to catch that live.
definitely good to see, man. Just because I was just glad that he was there, like you said, and he's still with us to be able to pass the torch, but to be able to see just how good that game was, man. It was funny too because we heard a lot of controversy with KD because he was on the bench when they were playing and he was displeased. But he basically made it clear, like, man, I wasn't displeased with what was going on with the ceremony. LeBron deserved it. It was well deserved. But at the same time, he said we was losing the game, and I wasn't really too happy with our performance at the time. Like they really basically got too relaxed once that went on, and they didn't really focus on the game, and they kind of lost focus. So yeah, man, that definitely caused a little stir at first because people were really like thinking that AD was kind of feeling some kind of way. But at the end of the day, man, regardless, as athletes, you want to win, man. Even in that game, because that was very important too. Because if they won that game, they would have kind of gave them a little more momentum. I still feel like they still have a chance with the team and the roster they assembled to make it to the playoffs or at least the play-in game. But it was just really a good day and a good moment in NBA history.
Okay. Now that being said, getting back to the trades, what team you feel made a deal and that deal probably not gonna work? So
Um, a lot of people was looking at that Kyrie deal, man, and been like, I don't think that's gonna work. And I
I
said, yeah,
agree.
because it seems like wherever he go, it seems like he'll be okay at first, and then his ego get the best of him, a la when he was in Cleveland. Then when he finally got out of there and went to Boston, and then he was saying that he was going to resign, went to the Nets, and then now he's where he is right now with the Mavericks. And it's funny too because now that we've seen the trade between him and Durant, which they both wanted to leave the summer, they end up getting their wishes on the trade deadline. But it was cool to see, and I know you probably saw that too, Eve, when James Harden was like, everybody was looking at me at first like I was the bad guy, but I know what was going on behind closed doors over there in Brooklyn, and I didn't want to be a part of it because I wasn't built like that, and that wasn't something that I wanted to have to deal with. And he said that now that you see that Durant and Kyrie wanted to leave, now you see what was going on. It is more than what meet the eyes, and it was pretty cool for him to actually share his story now after everything fell apart over there.
Well, to say about Kyrie, like I said, I would agree that that was probably not the best deal overall. I think in the end, like it or not, Dallas, you just basically bought you a rental for the rest of the season. I think it's already a preconceived notion that Kyrie is not going to sign there, and he already knows where he's going, as oftentimes is the case in these deals. Just like I feel like at some point Kevin Durant knew he was going to end up in Phoenix. I feel like ultimately Kyrie knows he's going to end up back over there with LeBron and the Lakers. I just
Yeah,
see that working out that way some kind of way. But that being said, um, shout out to Brooklyn. I feel like when all was said and done, they did the right thing. If that was not going to be the team that they had assembled that was going to get things done, they did the best thing they could do, which is basically sell off all the assets, get as much back in return, and start working on the process of rebuilding. And not in a deep rebuild because they actually got some good pieces over there to work with.
they really do.
Of course, that young man that just suddenly popped into the scene over there and started his own version of insanity with the 40-point a night scoring for that week. There was that young man, Mr. Thomas. And then, of course, I like what Finney Smith brings to the table over there. And, Cam Johnson wasn't a bad pickup either. But I think the key now is you have to get rid of the rest of the cancer. And as far as I'm concerned, the only real cancer left on that net squad is one Ben Simmons. So in an ideal world, what I would like to happen is I would like for them to approach that young man and basically buy out as much of that disastrous contract as they can and move on from him. And
Yeah,
if
because he had.
is smart, he will do the same. He will take that money and run. He will definitely end up on somebody else's NBA squad. If he did that, I wouldn't be surprised if a team like the Pistons or the Pacers or some team like that would pick him up to see what's left in the tank for him, or basically work around his skill set, whatever that is, to see if it fits what they can do long term. So I could definitely see that happening. But I also want to send kudos to the Nets for definitely doing the smart thing and signing uh, Jock Vaughn to a long-term extension. He definitely brought a common effect to that team. He basically made it to where they are now in playoff contention. I think even without Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, they still make the playoffs because of his coaching style and letting the players play the way they do over there. So definitely a good move by them overall.
And one of the sneaky trades that one trade I was mad about that they didn't do was John Collins, man, because he just didn't really seem like he fit over there in Atlanta, and he was always rumored to be at a trade deadline casualty last year and this year, but he's still there. I don't think that he's happy with his role over there too. So I just feel like he just wasting his time over there in Atlanta, but I definitely would have liked to see him go to another team and make an impact because I know that teams was reaching out like Boston and a lot of teams last year at that trade deadline. And I'm like, who's this John Collins guy? And then when I finally saw him, when we saw him that year in the playoffs and we seen how good he was, I was like, yeah, man, I think he could definitely impact and help another team, man. But I've seen too the Masala deal
With Boston, yeah,
Boston.
I definitely think that was a good move also for Boston.
Really good, sneaky, good low key move that nobody seen coming. They definitely needed that big man over there because I love my man's Williams, but he can't stay healthy, man. So until he can prove that he can stay healthy, they gonna need that extra insurance, and he can actually put buckets in the rim too, man, because he's a good scorer, Masala. So I felt
Yeah,
like that was a good deal, just in case, to kind of take up for whenever he's injured, which it seems like he's more injured than not right now.
right.
So
And
yeah,
like I said, if they got it to where at least they could get like half of him, I mean, half of him is better than most of anybody else, particularly when it comes to him on the defensive end. But I definitely think the Muscala deal was necessary because Horford is starting to fall off a little bit as well. Being one of
yeah,
the best players in the league, it makes sense. But they definitely gonna need that good big man play going into the latter stages of the playoffs, particularly when they get to playing the Philadelphias and Milwaukee's of the world. Now, hopefully, this injury that our guy Giannis has is not something that's going to linger. and be problematic for him long term with the risk. Hopefully, it's something that's just going to be dealt with in a few games, and he'll be back being himself. Of course, one of the big things that's been discussed during the All Star weekend time and what have you is that whole issue of load management. What are your thoughts on that? Are you?
I hate the way they handle certain things, man. Guys would be off like at first I thought that LeBron was hurt real bad. Remember when I talked to you, I was like, man, what happened to LeBron? He ain't played in the last few games, man. Is he hurt? And he was like, no, he man kind of figured that they was gonna give him time to chill after, him breaking that record. And I was like, yeah, man, but it wasn't no legitimate injury. They probably said an ankle sprain or like irritation,
That's
but I
exactly what it was.
they do a lot of that too, man. I think that Adam Silver going get to the point where he say, "Hey, enough is enough," and he's going to start chiming in on some of that stuff, man. And I believe because I remember before was in Miami got fined because they pulled something like that. I think it's going to be more fines to be dished out because of teams being too relaxed with their star players and giving them a lot of rest. That
Well,
Popovich
see,
rule.
understand as one of the star players, talked about that being Mr. Green, Draymond Green, the fact that some teams they are basically requiring some of their star players to take these days off. It's not the player itself that is doing that. I know in terms of Milwaukee, they were trying to get Giannis to rest up some, and Giannis basically didn't want to do that. But like I said, I think Anthony Edwards said it best in his comments this week, where he basically said he remembers being a fan of the game. And as a fan of the game, when you go to that game, that might be the only game you get a chance to go to all season. And you might have went there for a specific player. I go back to a few weeks ago before the All-Star game, where there was a young man that came all the way from Argentina to see our guy Jimmy Butler. And it just so happened Jimmy Butler decided not to play that game. And the dude came all the way from Argentina to see him. He was so disappointed. That's why I'm so happy that Jimmy made right by that dude. And basically, I think he even made it to where at some point later on in the season, he can come back on their dime and see Jimmy play, which is awesome. And of course, he got a lot of cool swag from Jimmy Butler and from the Miami Heat organization. I think that was a very class move on their part to do that, to do right by him. But everybody not gonna get that treatment. So I just need
Yeah,
people to keep that in mind, particularly when they come to a town where NBA may not be quite so prevalent. And as a result, that's why they decide to take the day off, like your Oklahoma Cities or your Indianas of the world. It's not fair to those small market teams for you to decide that's the day you're going to take off, you know?
because I remember seeing a little girl crying because it was her birthday, and she came a little ways. I forgot where it was at, but it was definitely a foreign country, man. And she came over because she wanted to see LeBron play. And when she came, LeBron didn't play that night, and she cried and cried. And I looked at that and I said, man, I hated to see that. I understand what's going on, and them
I
trying to
think I
do the
know
little,
that was when they played Golden State. You talking about you?
but
Yeah,
that was a sad day.
yeah, LeBron did right by her too, thank goodness. So if you go on to YouTube, you'll definitely see that story and basically how he made up for some of that. And that was cool that he did that as well. But yeah, like I said, that should be something where you shouldn't have to do that because you already playing.
Yeah, the old school players like Jordan and Allen Iverson and Barkley, the dudes wasn't playing that, man. What was Mutombo, who had like broke a record from the games not missed, just in that case, but yeah, man, a lot of the newer guys, man, I think because, and I'm not trying to be funny too, because I've talked to people and they were basically chiming in and putting their 2 cents in, saying that they're a little bit more acclimated to, or they're more athletic than the old school guys were, and a lot of them felt like that postponed a lot of their careers. But I said at the end of the day, a lot of them guys' careers wasn't postponed because of that. Maybe a few, but at the same time, I'm not going to give credit to that. I feel like if you need time to take a rest, that's fine. But the load management and how they've been doing it has been pathetic, man. Now you are games off like with the All-Star break. Like they did that the weekend. They don't play again till tomorrow. So it's like how much rest you need in the season.
I mean, just the
That's my
fact that we
opinion.
got the longer All-Star break at this point, it's only maybe like 26, 27 games left in the season.
Uh-huh.
Everybody that should be playing at this point because,
Yep.
like I said, nobody's playoff spot, maybe with the exception of the Celtics, is like in stone. So I want to see all the superstars play, particularly those who done went to other teams and need that time to gel with their new teammates and what have you. I don't want to see a lot of this load management the rest of the season if possible.
What's up, P?
We got our guy
Good.
Pride Hunter checking into the building. What's going on, Pride? What's happening? Talking one of your favorite subjects, NBA, at this point. But yeah, like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to the second half of the season and to see, what some of these new mix and matches come up with. Another team I'm very interested to see how they gel is the Los Angeles Clippers with some of the
Yeah.
acquisitions they made in the last few days, particularly with one Russell Westbrook. What's your thoughts on that, Hugh?
Yeah, glad you mentioned that. 'Cause I was just about to talk about that topic too, man. It was kind of interesting too because I think Paul George was the main one who was trying to get him over there. I forgot that Paul George spent that little time in OKC and he was pushing for him. It makes sense in the way that they need a guard to distribute the ball and to run the court because I think Paul George was doing most of that carrying that load. But at the same time, man, we just can't have, Russell Westbrook doing some of the things he did with LA, making bad decisions and crazy plays, when it wasn't necessary. His weakness is now the transition defense, because he's kind of getting up in age. But at the same time, I still feel like that should be able to work out for him. And it's sad too, because all the teams that he's been through and how he's been moving around, man, playing musical chairs in the NBA. I'm definitely hoping he can stay home in LA and, be able to finish his career off there if possible.
I mean, because think about it, particularly with that Clippers team, you got him from LA, you got Paul George from that area, you got Kawhi from that area. So you got them three. You would think they have more of a vested interest in doing good by that particular part. And then of course the whole situation with them playing in the same stadium as the Lakers and the rivalry with that. There's that. Prior to checking in with his thoughts on the
Yeah, I definitely agree with him on that.
yes, load management is a load of Smurf. Shame on Coach Poop for starting that. So that being Coach Popovich, who basically it did seem he is the godfather of load management, particularly when it came to people like Kyrie and Tim Duncan and the like. So yeah, I get that. But yeah, I definitely do not like that trend. I'm glad it's not so much a thing in other sports. I would hate for that to start to be the case, particularly in baseball and hockey and such because those are things they can't really afford to do because they are not as star driven leagues as the NBA is.
I'm glad to Pride here too, because I had to tell him I told you so. I don't know if he remembered this when we was talking. When I told you at one point when we were talking about the people who were injured when the NBA started, I said, man, Lonzo Ball don't seem like he's one of those type of guys who would, continue to prosper. I think that with his injury, I don't believe he's coming back the rest of the year. And then what do you know? I think it was like yesterday, the day before, that's when they were saying that they decided that he wasn't going to play this whole season. And now I'm looking at it like the Pelicans won when it came to this whole situation because I think that something happened where they were saying that he wanted like 85 million 4 years or something of that nature, and OKC wasn't willing to do it. And then they basically told him if you could find another team to do it, good, more power to you. And the suckers who are Chicago Bulls, basically, sorry for any Chicago fans out there, they swooped them up and paid them that money, and now it's not working for them.
Well, see, here's the thing, Hugh. One, the sad part is, of course, it was going to be hard for Lonzo to live up to the hype that was Lonzo Ball to begin with all that LeVar put on it and such, and then of course him going to the one place where expectations was going to be extremely high, that being the Lakers, and of course that didn't work out. And the best thing that happened to him was getting traded from the Lakers because they really would have been on him by now if he was still there. But
Yeah,
the thing is, it's just a question of his health, and apparently these knee injuries that he's had multiple surgeries on them throughout the course of the last year or so, and it's just not getting healthy enough for him to play. And it's not only an issue of him not playing this season. They say it's a pretty decent possibility that he may not play, period, as in at all, ever. And that's the real sad
Definitely.
part about it, because in the end, you had the three Ball brothers, and they always gonna be in the NBA and what have you. And in the end, it's only one of them really making good, and of course that's young LaMelo. But he's stuck over there in Charlotte, and Charlotte don't really seem to be committed to being no real winner, because you notice in this great trade cycle that we had, Charlotte didn't do much to help themselves. So you know,
They were just satisfied where they at, man. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, that's true.
I mean, hell, even the
Um,
Pistons made moves. I mean, what the hell?
how do you feel about the Atlanta Hawks? And had a little slight discussion about this, dismissing Nate McMillan. Do you think that it was time for them to do so?
It's something about Nate McMillan that just don't gel right when it comes to NBA long term. I mean, it seemed like he done been with all these teams now, with Seattle, with Portland, and it appears he's a good coach for the most part. But for whatever reason, when it comes to dealing long term and him getting beyond a certain level, he just can't seem to get past that. The players, for the most part, seem to respond well to him, but maybe he's starting to get too old for the NBA. Maybe that's part of what it was. I mean, I still feel like, as prior to turning in, Jordan is a horrible owner.
I
I can't
agree.
argue that, sir. I cannot argue that point. From what I've seen thus far, that is the case, and it's sad because, of course, as the only minority owner in the NBA at this point, it's hard to see him be on that end of the fence with it. You figure him being such a great player, it was just a given that at some point he'd be an owner and he'd do a great job. Hopefully, that's not the situation that LeBron will find himself in when he becomes the owner, because I feel like he already called his shot, and it's damn near a done deal at this point that when he retires, they will grant his request and give him a team in Las Vegas, or him and a combination of his friends. You figure his good buddy, Mr. Paul, will probably be a part of that organization. Perhaps Paul's good friend and perhaps future wife Adele will be a part owner in that as well. Lizzo, whoever else, it should be very interesting when all that happens. But going back to the original subject, when all is said and done, it's those teams that definitely seem to have made an effort to say, okay, we are in it to win it. It's those teams that's like trying to figure things out, like our Pistons and what have you. And then just teams like your your Hornets, your Sacramento Kings, and what have you, that they just get in where they fit in from season to season. But
Yeah,
no,
Jordan is a
Nate,
owner.
I just feel like Nate, maybe it's time for him to do other things with his life. Coaching NBA
Yeah,
basketball don't seem to be
because
working out.
he seems he'll work out for a minute, then that just run dry. And I think that's the reason why Barkley and Jordan was beat out for so long, because Barkley said he wasn't gonna kiss his ass, and tell him how great he was when he's a terrible owner, and he called him out because of him not being a great owner.
I would say it's
All
kind of
right, I
interesting
want to
how
get
Jordan's after basketball life has played out in general. It seems like he definitely made more enemies than friends of late.
yeah, definitely when he made that last dance. I don't think he made too many fans off of that.
Absolutely. I mean, us being Detroit people, that's one thing, but just in general, it seemed like he didn't definitely rubbed a lot of people the wrong way during these times.
I want to tell you something you probably wasn't up on either, E man. First off, I want to mention the 40-point performers, because there's been a lot of them, man. But at one point in one night, you had Donovan Mitchell, you had Damian Lillard, and Jalen Brunson all score 40 points. And this is something that's going to blow your mind, E. This is a stat that I have. Okay, 40-point game stats. It's been 137 40-point games this season. That's the third in the season all time by 44 different players. There's 26 of those players that had multiple 40-point games, and that's the most in NBA history.
That's impressive, especially when you consider, there's been times in the league where defense was even less than it is now. And, you didn't have as many 40-point scores at that point. Granted, it wasn't as many threes being shot at that point, and that's definitely a key in this stat that many of the people you mentioned are basically 3-point scorers for the most part. I mean, it's very impressive when people like Giannis and those people get 40 and 50 points because most of them are usually inside the 2-point range, and that makes it that much more impressive. But yeah, like I said, definitely people are scoring this season. I mean, even scoring has picked up to a certain degree among certain people in the NCAA. So that's something to look at. But no, I'm not like overly surprised by it. It's nice to see when certain people do it, and you don't expect it. Like say when Cam Thomas did it and did it back to back a few weeks ago, he just coming out of
Yeah.
nowhere. Hadn't heard of no Cam Thomas to that point. You gotta love 3-pointers and lack of attention to team defense. Absolutely. I mean, team defense in particular, you don't see a lot of that from most of these teams. Lord knows the Pistons, oh my God, their team defense is atrocious. It's a miracle they
and
win
ain't
at all based on what I've seen of their team defense.
and
I
ain't a
don't
lot
know
of
if Wiseman's going to help that or not.
Man, is there anything else that you had to talk about with the NBA? Because I wanted to
Well, yeah, there's a couple things I still want to touch on. Like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to the second half of the season. In terms of the MVP, we already started to have that discussion, and a lot of people, once again, are putting up one Nikola Jokic as the possible MVP. Um, do you think that should be good? Because they base it, of course, on the analytics and whatnot when it comes to some of these things, or are we basically purposely overlooking the usual suspects because we just tired of them getting all the accolades. Your Joel Embiid, your Giannis Antetokounmpo, your LeBron James.
And the thing is, he had a good season low key last year too, and it was just as good, probably better than this season. And him winning it is like okay, but I still feel like they wasn't looking at guys more like now you got Joel Embiid, still in that conversation. You got Giannis, and then now you got Jason Tatum, and you got Luka all in this conversation now too, man. And just the way I feel like well, Luca already was getting to that point last year before.
I would argue you could throw John Moran in that mix somewhere.
Yeah, because I was really impressed with how Jason Tatum stepped up his game this year, man. It was like going to the NBA Finals and losing kind of it definitely woke him and Jaylen Brown up, man. It made them definitely appreciate what they had, and it's like some people never get there, man. But yeah, Ja's been acting the fool. He ain't really got that many like mainstream dudes on that team neither. And so yeah, it's a lot of guys that we can talk about, bring to the table. And I feel like the one thing though that stood out is at one point Denver was like one of the teams like third and fourth place in the West, but then all of a sudden you got these triple doubles from the big man, Nikola Jokic, and then you got Jamal Murray stepping up, and a lot of the people, doing a dirt.
I just don't understand why they're not favored to do, what it is. Like I said, you got him, you got your boy Gordon doing good for that squad. You got Bones.
He is. He over there.
But then you got KCP over there balling pretty well for Denver. Like I said, they seem to be stacked. I don't understand why more people are not favoring them to go farther in the West.
Yeah, most times they be like them guys are probably just be in the conference finals, man. They don't even look at them as a championship caliber team, and that's what they were saying. The reason why they don't think the Jokic should deserve the actual chance because they said, yeah, if he win an MVP again like he did last year, then he'll tank out in the playoffs, maybe in the first, second round. So it's like they don't really give that much to him, and they make it seem like he's more of just a really great, regular season player versus being a person who can lift his team to the next level.
Right. And then of course, we got to keep mindful of what is to come. Basically, there is a very great draft prospect coming up in this year's draft. For those of you who are not familiar, you might want to start familiarizing yourself with the young man known as Wimmer. Victor, the kid from France, he is doing phenomenal things in that French league he's playing in. Imagine a guy that is 7'5" with guard, forward, and center skills that plays well both offensively and defensively. They are saying that he is the best prospect to come into the league since LeBron. I know you've watched some of his game tape. What are your thoughts on him and just the possibilities thereof?
Victor Wembanyama is like one of the best guys as far as like to get advertised. It's really crazy because they're saying he's getting just as much hype now as a kid is basically around the same height LeBron James was getting. And every time you see him now, he taking pictures with Rudy Gobert, shaking LeBron and AD's hand, and he's around like a lot of NBA caliber players. But with him too, man, being his size, man, it remind me of Chad Holmgren, man. He's gonna have to get some weight on him, man, because I really was looking forward to OKC being with Chad Holmgren, and people don't even think about that. OKC is not that bad of a team. And if they would have had him, I just want to see how far or how much they would gel because they got a pretty solid team over there, man. And I like what they're doing with Alexander Gilchrist or
Right.
Gilchrist Alexander. But yeah, it's definitely an intriguing year. Okay, you see what Pryor said. I voted
Yeah,
for
I hope
Tatum.
Tatum guys becoming very unlikable, and that probably will hurt him. Yeah, Joker has hit a standstill of excellence, and Luca lives on the second floor, and his team needs to be seated better first. And of course, I'm very surprised that you are voting for your guy Tatum as opposed to your main man Joel, because as you know, Pride is a big Joel Embiid supporter, and I'm definitely surprised he was not even mentioned in that little clip. I mean, Joel at times has been extremely dominant in games, to be quite honest. But my concern is that as the games go on and the amount of minutes he's playing is added and what have you, we all know about the past injury history of one Joel Embiid. So I'm actually surprised they're not resting him more. He seemed like he would be an ideal candidate for a little load management, but we'll see how they play that as the weeks go on in the rest of the season. But yeah,
Yeah,
like I said, I'm really, of course, as a diehard Pistons fan, I'm really hoping that with all this horrible play we doing this season, that in the end we get rewarded with a Victor Wembanyama. I really don't see that happening. You know my thoughts on the whole NBA draft thing. I
definitely
find it
with the
very hard to see them putting that young man in a place that is not one of the top ranked places to view basketball. In other words, we think about teams that's kind of sucking right now. One of them is the Knicks. I would not at all be surprised if somehow, some way they win the lottery and end up with Victor, for example. And because the league, of course, is about superstars and growing the league in good places. And of course, you put that man in New York, Madison Square Garden will stay packed for years to come. Okay, Pratt has tuned. He has checked in about Mr. Embiid. He says Embiid has hit a standstill too. He's never going to lead a team to a chip. I hate that you feel that way about it, Pratt. I really do. But
yeah,
I kind of feel where you're going with that.
definitely because it seems like at the time they need him the most, he'll get hurt or something just happened, man. It just seems like something just ain't right there in Philly, man. It's like always something happened. It could be the last game, it could be a game seven, he's hurt and can't play that game. It's always something in the way of him being able to take it to that next level. So I definitely agree with that on that whole situation with Joel, unfortunately.
Right. Now,
Um,
I actually, if we can, want to add a quick audible here, Hugh, and kind of go with some WNBA news for a minute, if you don't mind.
okay.
Of course, as you see, there has been some good free agency going on in the WNBA this season, which will be starting in May. And you see a few people have switched teams. You see, like for example, your girl Candace Parker is now part of the Las Vegas Aces, making a very good championship team, maybe that much better. So definitely looking forward to see what happens there. You see the LA Sparks are starting to add a few pieces. You see they added back Shanae Agunake to play with her sister once again for the Sparks. So I'm curious to see how that works for them. That gives them a very good front court. Also, you got New York doing big things in the
Yeah, they have.
WNBA. Signed Brianna Stewart and a couple other players over there to New York to go with Miss Anescu, one of Kobe's favorite female players. And I think they looking to have a pretty good squad over there. And of course, got to shout out the GOAT herself, Diana Taurasi, for signing up for one more season, at least of WNBA basketball, and playing with her good friend, Miss Brittany Griner, who also signed last week to play back at the Mercury. So I'm definitely looking forward to the WNBA season. What's some of your thoughts on that, you?
Yeah, I definitely seen a lot of that, and I said that was actually surprising too to see Stewie go over there, man, because I know she gonna ball, man. But they trying to, like you said, do what the New York Knicks is not doing. They trying to make New York legit, and a place where people want to go, and a place that can win, a franchise that can win. So
And I
I
think
thought
that's
that was a
important
really
for the
good.
WNBA because if you're going to grow and expand the league, you need your bigger markets to have some of your better teams.
And surprising enough, man, they did just that, man. It was really exciting stuff. And when I heard that Kansas Park was going to the Aces, man, the defending champions, that really took me by surprise because I said, man, they was already a decent team without her. But then to add her is damn near like adding Kevin Durant when he went to Golden State almost.
Absolutely. And then, of course, keep in mind that, when they do the WNBA draft next month, well, in April, uh, New York does have one of the top three picks. And, you can see some of the talent that's being offered at the college level. Imagine them adding like a Maddie Seacrest or even perhaps your girl from South Carolina, Miss Boston, or Haley
Yeah.
Johnson to the squad to go with all of that.
Yeah, man, that'd make them even more dangerous, man. It's been pretty good as far as too the college women, man. Like we was talking about, man. There's been a lot of scoring there, man. I'm glad you finally got a chance to see my girl Maddie Segrist, man, because
Yeah, I was
she's.
very impressed by her.
And then Caitlin Clark still shooting those crazy. She still got that range,
Right. And
It
I got to give a shout out. I got to give them their respect to the St. John women's team last night or the night before, actually, that
yeah, me
upset
off
my
guard.
UConn Lady Huskies, man. I was very impressed by that.
Yeah, because they definitely creeped in and unexpectedly beat them, man. But that's gonna happen time to time. Because remember, man, we feel like UConn had a chance even without their star players to beat South Carolina, and South Carolina definitely should have lost to Ole Miss. So it's like it's been pretty good. Where we thought it wasn't gonna be no parity, it actually has been parity in women's basketball. And the biggest surprise, man, it was more of a disappointment that I could say because we were really over. I was overhyping it, and that picture you gave me was so dope when you had Moki on one side and you had Staley on the other side, and then you look and you see that, and they both were undefeated. The teams, one was 23-0, one was 24-0. I didn't think that they would get handled like that. I just didn't feel like Angel Reese was ready for that type of spotlight yet. I still feel like too with Stanford, man, they gonna give team problems too, man. Because Cameron Brick, man, she's starting to use that length, man. she
Absolutely.
she got that length like Bradley, man, and that length been killing people, man. Because
Like I said, I want to equate her to how basically the last season of Brittany Griner was at Baylor. Cameron
Yeah,
started to play on that level, and I do believe
yeah.
she is eligible for this year's WNBA draft. So again, I imagine adding her to that New York team to go with Stewie.
It's gonna be a lot of dangerous stuff going in this draft, man. And there's some chicks this year that we've definitely been all eyes on. What year is it for Diamond Miller, man? Is she eligible?
I do believe Diamond Miller will be eligible for the draft this year as well.
What about Olivia Miles?
No, Olivia Miles is a sophomore, I believe. Like I said, it's a lot of good,
Okay, but yeah, it's a lot of
underclassmen
just
players this year. So, definitely the women's game is definitely growing and expanding. You know, it's hard for me as much as I enjoy watching my Lady Huskies, knowing what we really got in terms of firepower on the bench right now. And it's sad because it does look like that AB Flood will not be back for the rest of the season. So
yeah.
I can only hope that next year they all do decide to stay and play at least one more good season. Because with all them playing and actually healthy, it would be a whole different season right now. And there's no way I could not see UConn at least, if not undefeated, with just one loss if everybody was healthy and playing. That's just how much talent that some of those girls, I mean, especially Paige Beckers. I mean, she's almost like forgotten at this point. But remember, when she was playing and healthy, she was voted the best player in the nation. So,
I agree.
So yeah, we're gonna take
Yeah,
a
man, because
commercial break here. When we come back, I imagine we'll talk a little men's basketball right quick in the college game, and then we got to get into baseball and some of what's going on there. So this, of course,
yeah,
is Game Time Audible. We are back kicking it with y'all for another half or so. Me and my man Hugh, glad to be back with you. Glad that we both feeling a little better and healthy and ready to get it in. We got, of course, advertise some of our other people here in the Nighthawk Network. Shout out to Big Meech. We love you, bro.
Hello, hello, hello. It's another glorious day, my T-Steppers, and you know what time it is. I hope you have all of your comforts together because it's time to dish tea. And you're dishing tea, darlings, with Big Meech.
Can't wait. It's time to dish tea with Big Meech. It's time to dish tea with Big Meech. It's time to dish tea with Big Meech. It's time to dish tea with Big Meech.
Darling.
Nikki.
Let's talk. Let's
Nikki.
let's talk.
Let's talk.
Let's talk.
Nikki.
The views and or opinions expressed here on Game Time Audible is that of the host and or guests, and does not necessarily reflect those of the Nighthawk Network or its affiliates. Viewer and listening discretion is advised. All right, we are back. It is Game Time Audible. Me and my man's Hugh Lee, the sports guru, back kicking it with y'all. Okay, gonna talk just a little college basketball. As you know, we getting close to the end of the regular season. Um, I can't say that there is no definitive number one right now. We kind of went back and forth these last few weeks between Alabama and Houston and Purdue. They all done had they good spots, but none of those teams definitely saying, okay, we definitely looking to be the front runners. I think the bigger surprise this season is a lot of the blue bloods aren't playing quite as well, particularly when
no,
you look at North Carolina and Michigan and teams like
Kentucky.
that. What are your thoughts going into this time of year?
just was really surprised, but at the same time, it's interesting because, like you said, some of the other schools are starting to take wave. Man, you didn't think Houston was going to be doing good. You could even throw in Virginia as fighting for that number one spot at first. Then they start to kind of slip off, man. Kind of like Purdue, because Purdue was number one for a minute. They just had a couple of, rumbles where they kind of messed up, and I think that helped Alabama get the number one spot at one point, and they didn't even have it for that long. They ended up losing the next game. So yeah, it's not really no true parity in men's, but I definitely want to see what's going to happen in the tournament because every year it'd be that Cinderella team that we all love, man. Remember with Shaka Smart with VCU, and you get these Cinderella teams, man, that play, and I'm just really interested, man. It's getting to the point where college really about to pick up in the men and women, and I'm all in now, man, because this is the part of the season that really is excited, man, and I definitely hope that eventually college take that form, man. I know they're going to start adding more teams, but I feel like that's what makes the college basketball so great because even if you a 23rd seed, you still get an opportunity to go to the big dance, and to play in the tournament.
Right. And then, of course, for those of you who are fans of your team, particularly those of you who are getting into the whole online betting situation, keep in mind if you pick that right scenario to where there's that team and, they shouldn't have no chance in hell of beating that team, but they somehow make the major upset and you put a nice amount on it, you might hit a big old lick. It seemed like in these last few seasons that online betting has been a thing. We always get that story after the tournament of the one person that put a few dollars on the team that you didn't think was gonna do quite so well, and they make it to like the final four and whatnot, and that person hit a nice little lick. So something to keep in mind going into the tournament. If you got a couple dollars to invest and you basically want to see if you can make something happen, perhaps if you're a fan of say like a Valley State or Oakland U or some team that not expecting to do much, but may somehow catch fire in the tournament, you might mess around and make some nice dollars off the deal.
Yeah, that's what I like to see too, man. We are like them Cinderella teams, man. I just wish I was savvy enough or had the guts to, vote for one of them teams like that, man. But
Yeah, I mean, we
I,
all can't be like your boy Money Mayweather or of course Drake, who basically seem to come out during these big major sports events now, make these huge bets and cash in big time. Like I said, they're not only good at what they do, they seem to be pretty good gamblers as well. So you know, I advise them they want to get some extra money, they should start doing some sports betting podcasts and maybe make some money that way. Because you know,
man, they're
look at what Drake won betting on Kansas City this year, for example. He paid out.
absolutely. It ain't like he needed it. It's just he had it because he can, and that's what he good at doing, man. I definitely believe you on that, man. They should have the situation where they had, like you said, a bet cam to where they could say, "Oh man, this is the reason why I'm going for this team," or "You should put your money on this team," and basically to just give more fans the opportunity to kind of pick their brain and see how they think as the business moguls and the savvy, sports bettors they are.
Right. And like I said, shout out to the fan dudes and the draft kings and place of the world. It's big business. I must admit, if you're not able to invest in that way, you might just want to get some stock in some of these places because they're making big money right now. And the way the games are set up, I think they'll continue to do so. So definitely sports betting is something to look at in terms of future assets, just right along with like, owning a cannabis place or something like that. I think it's the wave of the future.
Absolutely, man. You better go that route, man. I know I didn't try it, and sometimes it get a little bit overbearing, man. That's why I had to calm down, man. It definitely
It's
do
them
get
parlays, man. It's them parlays that get you. You gotta be careful with them parlays, people. But that being said, if you could have bet on, say, like Jacksonville making the playoffs this year after having the number one pick last year, you probably made some pretty good money right now. So those, like I said, if you're trying to hit some long shots, that's the type of stuff I would look into some of these future bets.
because I know, man, it's definitely interesting too, man. Sometimes you be heartbroken, man. Sometimes you may come out big, but it was interesting to me because I haven't really did it that much last year. I started doing a little bit more this year, man. But it's definitely something that is pretty interesting, man. Because I remember I forgot who it was. It was a person, a sports person too, man, a player who I think I forgot who it was. It was a football player. I think they bet $3 on the game and almost won 1 million, man. Because of course they had the crazy parlay. I think a 12 leg one or something like that. But I think the only reason he didn't win is because Travis Kelsey didn't score a touchdown, and I think Justin Jeffries didn't score.
Yeah, because understand, I made out okay in that game. I mean, granted, I'm not betting no major money. Like I said, when we talk about these things, me and Hugh, we ain't got money like that. We bet like 50 cents, $1, So don't think we going broke over here by any means. But on the same token, it just kind of make the games a little bit more fun. You a little something, a little interesting. Like I said, it was nice to actually cash out that 20, 25 bucks I made because I needed it. So it worked out good for me. But
I want
yeah,
to ask you a question too, E man. I wanted to jump into the baseball right quick.
absolutely.
We talked about Manny Machado, and you basically told me, and it made a lot of sense. I said I didn't really feel like the way San Diego throw a lot of money around it. They have been able to actually give him the money he needed, but they actually did. But when you got guys like Xander Bogart and you got Juan Soto and big name players like that came over to the team, he want to go somewhere where he can shine and get all the money. I don't really think now with him it's even about the championships. It's about the money he can get and being a free agent.
I'm kind of thinking about him in the same light of people like Juan Gonzalez and Manny Ramirez and basically people that seem to be more about themselves than the actual team, what they can accomplish individually as opposed to that. You would think Manny should be very happy being with the Padres right now with all the young talent and all the they got good pitching over there with Hugh Darvish that they signed to a multi-year deal, and you know they got a Snell over there. They set up pretty good in San Diego. I don't understand why you would have an issue with what's going on. I understand that him and Tatis kind of were at odds, but I think at some point they do move Tatis Jr. somewhere else. But like I said, Manny should be happy where he is. I don't understand why there is a disconnect with what's going on there. And I honestly believe if you want to move him, you don't move him where he wants to go. You basically move him to some place that is willing to take on that big salary. And if it's some crazy place like a Texas or a Oakland or whatever, you go with that. It shouldn't
But
be
if he
no
go
man inside his fate at this.
if he go to Texas, that's really gonna help that team, man, because they got some pretty good pieces over there. They spent a lot of money last year. It didn't pan out like they wanted to, but then they're still getting like a lot of big pieces. Because when they got Jacob DeGrom over there, that caught me off guard. Like, damn, they actually ended up getting him, man. And
That was definitely a surprise move of free agency. I will admit that.
they definitely trying to add pieces over there.
Yeah, but
So
all
yeah,
that being said, obviously the one thing we definitely will keep an eye on in terms of any type of free agent move is, of course, basically the best all around player in the MLB right now, Shohei Ohtani, who has come out by his agent and said that no, he is not looking to sign a long term deal at this point with California. He's going to let the process play out this season, and then enter the free agent market at the end of the season and let the bidding begin.
and big ups to my man Theo Epstein, man, who always is an innovator for baseball, and he's one of those guys that I don't care how crappy your team is. It could be Cincinnati, it could be us. It seems like he, sprinkle his talents and what he do on the team, man. And he could definitely, if you could give him at least a year or two, sometimes maybe three, he will make magic, man. He'll make a team who wasn't relevant. And him starting to get to the point where he put his 2 cents in to help out with some of the rule changes to innovate the sport a little more, to make it a faster pace, so where we don't have a lot of dead time in baseball. I really think that's going to elevate and that's going to help the game too, because they said that they started a lot of that stuff already before, and the minor leagues, and they said the minor league games are getting really exciting. It's fast paced, showing you great players and athleticism. And I was really happy to hear that, because when you change some of those rules, man, from the old tradition, because I think they stuck with it for so long that it's only like diehard people like me and you to really appreciate it, and some other baseball fans. But most people, when you talk to them, and it was like maybe 2, 3 years ago, one of my boys was like, man, I don't watch baseball. Baseball boring. And I told him, man, like, look at the scoring though, man. It was like 6 teams out of the 13 that played scored in double figures, but they still were saying that the pace wasn't fast enough for them. And now that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to accommodate to the younger generation, and at the same time, they're trying to elevate the sport to make it relevant, because it's always been relevant. But I don't really feel like people look at it like it's America's game anymore. And I think they're trying to make claim back to that state. What were some of the moves that you liked, E, as far as some of the things they worked on and some of the rule changes?
I would say the three major things that I'm looking forward to seeing is one, obviously, what effect the pitch clock will have on the game. As you know, this year, basically, pitchers will not be allowed to just nilly willy and lollygag on the mound. They will have a certain amount of time between pitches to get set, get in position, and throw the pitch. So I think that's going to cut out a lot of the foolishness in terms of that. Second rule change is where you only have a couple times where you can throw over the first. So basically, after that second or third time, at that point, you got to let the runner do what he does. So they definitely think that it's going to add to the stolen base totals that have been very lacking in the last several years. So I'm looking to see that. Of course, there is the fact that there will be no defensive shifting anymore, where basically, a hitter hits it to one side of the field more than the other. So as a result, you put everybody to that side of the field. There's no longer going to be that. So I think that will loan itself to more people getting hits in the league, which is good. It will cut down on some of the strikeouts, which is definitely not so good. And the other thing that I'm really liking is the fact that all teams now will play all teams, much like they do in the NBA and the NHL. So you'll get to see all your teams, basically all the teams in the league play each other at some point this year, which I'm
Because
really looking forward to.
at one point, the interleague play was actually pretty exciting, because you will see some of the American League teams go over to the National League, and then they'll have to play their style where the pitcher will have to actually hit.
Of course,
Um,
now there is no pitcher hitting anymore. It's all DH, so that will add some dimensions to it as well.
that's gonna help with the excitement. But it was good to see that at one point, but we got tired of it because, like you said, NFL, NHL, NBA, all the sports basically, it didn't matter, but they always played each other. And that's what made it so weird at one point for me. Like, man, in the league play, but then once you saw it, it was okay while it lasted. But I'm just glad that they're getting to something different. And I'm glad that after all these years, because baseball been around for over 100 years, man, for them to actually say, okay, we need to start doing things to improve the game to make it relevant. But yeah, I'm definitely tired of the shifting. When I seen the pitch clock the first time, I asked my boy, it was my boy Eric Mayweather. I said, man, what is these clocks right here? And he said, oh, you ain't in play yet. He said, but these clocks, man, if they don't, do they pitch around this time, they're going to have people get on base. And I was like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. So that basically we're going to bring the excitement to the game, because now you got 15 seconds when you're in motion and 20 seconds to go to the base. But like you said, you're not going to be able to throw to first base the whole game. And I definitely like that. And I like the fact that they're going to make the bases bigger too, And I think it's going to be like from 15 to 18 inches.
Yes,
It
that's
might not
correct.
It might not seem like it's a lot, but it is, man. That's gonna bring excitement to more people trying to steal bases, and just in general the game itself, man. For them to elevate some of the things that's been around for so long, and to say that we know that the way we've played before starting to get stale, and we're trying to put more excitement to the game, is just basically telling you that they've listened and they've heard all the stuff that we talked about for years. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this gonna pan out.
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. Basically spring training has started, and the preseason games will be starting next week, and well, actually this weekend. And I'm curious to see how it all pans out. I mean, we'll do, of course, our preview of the season sometime in the next couple of weeks. Let you know who we think gonna do what during the season, but I think a lot of that stems itself to how well teams adjust to these new rules, in addition to
Yeah.
all the rules they made in the off season. So I'm looking forward to that. I do want to throw in a non-major sport take in regards to what happened last week in the golf tournament with one Tiger Woods and his good buddy Justin. Are you familiar with that, Hugh?
No, sir.
Basically, it was a situation where they were on the course, and they were basically joking around with one another. Tiger hit a drive and it was farther than Justin's drive, and basically he was kidding with him and handed him a tampon as if to say, "Okay, you hit like a girl or whatnot." But of course, a lot of people took offense to that, as they should have, because it was basically a joke in bad taste, and a lot of people have had that discussion in the sports takes and whatnot with the talking heads and what have you. I definitely want to add in my 2 cents to that. It is very unfortunate that Tiger Woods found that to be a funny joke to make in public. I understand that in this day and age of being politically correct and us being extra sensitive to damn near everything, that there's that much. But in the same token, certain things you have to be a little mindful of. And I just think that joke was in poor taste considering they were in public and everybody basically saw that that's what it was. Tiger Woods by far is no saint, but I don't think he could afford to have these types of hits on his personal record in regards to some of his actions.
Absolutely. If he says something like that, man, you got to be careful, man. Because remember the one guy on the broadcaster from the Tigers that year when they asked him about Shohei Ohtani and how he feel about
Jack
him.
Morris, yeah.
Yeah, and he, made that joke, but then he had it like in a funny, like Asian type voice, like back in the day. It's kind of borderline racist to me too when he said it, because when he said it, I was like, oh man, he definitely not gonna make it to see the next day on broadcast. But yeah, but when you do silly stuff like that, then when you take light to it and figure out how bad it was in taste, and yeah, I feel like sometimes things could get extra sensitive. But he basically said he didn't take it that way. It showed, hey, he figured it was a compliment, but the way he said it and the way he approached that, man, you just got to watch what you do, and you got to be more professional than what people portray nowadays, regardless of the fact. You always got to be a role model, and you always got to basically calculate what you're doing, and make sure that you're doing it in good taste.
Absolutely. So, just something that came up, and then of course, just basically shout out to all the other sports that we basically didn't touch on today, but we definitely are looking to have more discussions about things outside of the major sports. So, if you have a sport that you would like for us to speak on, whether it be something as minor as pickleball or something like MLS or whatnot, if you are a fan of that and you check out the show on a regular basis, by all means, let us know that. Hit us up on the messenger, and we will definitely add that into our discussions every week. Like I said, we should be back to normal here, so we'll be back with you guys next week to talk more sports with you. You got any more to discuss before we head out, Hugh?
Oh, that'll be all.
All right. Well, that being said, we got it in. I'm so glad we were able to do so. I'm very much missing this camaraderie that we have here on the air and to talk to you guys. I know it's been a minute since we've been on, so we may not have quite the crowd that we have been, but once you see that we're back doing this, hopefully you guys will chime in and put your 2 cents in and let us know what you think in regards to our thoughts on the sports and all that good stuff. So I will let Hugh have the last word. I'm just glad that I'm back and feeling better, and we doing what we do, talk sports.
Appreciate you all. Thank you for all the people who've been tuning in to Pure to the Game and those who wasn't aware of it. You can check out my blog, and I've been basically putting all the news and things that you need to know as far as what's going on in the sports world. And like I said, I just appreciate the people who's been tuning in, and the more things I've been added on to the page, the more the page growing. And now it's really intriguing to me to see that 168 now to being 203, and that's a blessing. And I hope I continue to build, but just really glad that for the advertisement from E for one, and for the people who chiming in and spending time with me on Pure to the Game as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and keep in mind, people, we are looking to support small black business here in Detroit. So let your friends know if you have a small black business that you are looking to get some free advertisement from, or two, please hit us up on our messenger. We are definitely looking for you. We want to add more video and audio slots to the broadcast to promote black business here in Detroit. That is one of the new thing, well, not necessarily new thing for the Nighthawk Network. It's something we want to do. And also, we are going to start talking about some of the charities that we would like to support along the way. We're not really in no great financial place, Hugh and I, at this point to really do that. But as we get, better situated and whatnot, there are definitely a couple places we would like to support. And we will definitely talk to you guys about it as we go along, particularly probably later on in the year when we get to the giving season, as I like to call it, so that we can support some of these places and help them out when we can. But in the meanwhile, we will talk to you about that another day. We are about to head on out now. This has been that one and only Gametime Audible. And until next time, please check out all the games. And next week we'll be back with you guys to talk some more. So as I get down here to the closing credits here, any last words, Hugh?
No, that'll be it for me.
All right. That being said, you know what to do, Hugh. Throw them fingers up, baby. And we is out. Peace, y'all. Gametime Audible is a Nighthawk Network.